2018 is shaping up to be a banner year for sci-fi enthusiasts. From a new entry to the Star Wars franchise, to big-budget book-to-screen adaptations, to some very novel property ideas. Here's a look at what the next year holds in store for the cinematic genre. The Beyond. This feature-length debut from Hazda Lul, who previously worked as a visual effects artist on films like The Dark Knight and Hellboy 2, will be a loose adaptation of his 2013 short film Project Kronos. The Beyond is set in the near future when robotically augmented astronauts embark on an interstellar journey through a recently discovered wormhole. Judging by the trailer, we're in for a wild ride when this premieres on digital streaming services on January 9th. Maze Runner: The Death Cure. The third adaptation of James Dashner's dystopian Maze Runner novels, The Death Cure, has been a long time coming. The film was originally slated for a 2017 release, but a severe onset injury to lead actor Dylan O'Brien temporarily halted production on the pick and delayed its release till next year.
It stops when we find a cure.
There is no cure!
It's since been completed, and The Death Cure will follow the Gladers' continued battle with Wicked in one spectacular final showdown that hits theaters January 26th. Annihilation. Based on the acclaimed 2014 novel of the same name by Jeff Vandermeer and directed by Ex Machina's Alex Garland, Annihilation follows a biologist as she goes searching for answers about her husband's disappearance by joining an expedition into an environmental disaster zone. With a trailer that's already packed with stunningly eerie imagery, there are sure to be a lot of surprises when this movie lands in theaters on February 23rd. A Wrinkle in Time. For fans of Madeleine L'Engle's classic 1962 science fiction fantasy novel, Ava DuVernay's live-action take on A Wrinkle in Time can't come soon enough. The novel's been adapted for film once before, in a 2003 Disney-distributed TV movie which was poorly received by most viewers, including L'Engle herself, who said, "I expected it to be bad, and it is." But with an all-star cast and the Selma director at the helm, the new take is already shaping up to be an out-of-this-world experience when it appears on March 9th. Pacific Rim: Uprising. Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim may not have been a box office smash, but it was well received by critics and audiences alike and has finally gotten its long overdue follow-up by way of Uprising. The sequel is helmed by Stephen DeKnight, and while plot details are scant so far, we do know that John Boyega will feature as Jake Pentecost, the son of Idris Elba's character Stacker from the first film. And it'll take place several years after the events of the first installment. So brace for impact, giant mech fans, when this monster hits theaters on March 23rd. Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg is giving science fiction fans something to salivate over with his adaptation of Ernest Cline's buzzy book, Ready Player One.
In 2045, there's nowhere left to go. Nowhere except the Oasis.
The story follows its young hero through a virtual reality maze of pop culture references as he fights to find an Easter egg that will earn him a fortune in the midst of a global energy crisis. And from the looks of the early footage, the movie promises to be a mind-blowing experience when it treks to the silver screen on March 30th. Rampage. Monster movies may have fallen out of vogue in recent years, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson may change all of that with the big screen adaptation of Rampage. The film is based on the classic 1980s arcade game of the same name, which features three gigantic monsters rampaging through cities around North America. The producers of the movie have confirmed that the main monsters from the franchise will be back for the film, which means we'll soon be watching The Rock face off against a giant crocodile, a mega gorilla, and an enormous wolf.
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
While this sounds like a goofy action blockbuster on the surface, director Brad Peyton also promises that Rampage will be a lot more emotional, a lot scarier, and a lot more real than you'd expect. We'll have to wait and see whether The Rock can work his box office magic again when Rampage drops on April 20th.
I think we'll be all right.
Solo: A Star Wars Story. The upcoming Star Wars film about Han Solo has hit some bumps along the way, but if it's anything like its predecessors, this will be one out-of-this-world experience for audiences. The standalone movie will follow a young Han Solo, played by Alden Ehrenreich, who takes over for Harrison Ford, and will showcase the character's exploits before the events of A New Hope. He'll be joined by Donald Glover as a young Lando Calrissian, and Jonas Suotamo as Chewbacca, taking over for Peter Mayhew. In addition to these established Star Wars characters, Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, Thandi Newton, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and more will all appear in supporting roles. While shooting was underway in early 2017, production was halted after Lucasfilm fired co-directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller due to ongoing creative conflicts with both Lucasfilm executive Kathleen Kennedy and screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan. However, Lucasfilm quickly hired Ron Howard to complete principal photography and reshoots. Judging by his willingness to sprinkle the fan base with clues already, having Howard at the helm will make this one outstanding intergalactic adventure when Solo hits theaters on May 25th. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. While many other reboots have floundered in recent years, Jurassic World took the, world by storm and earned over $1.6 billion in the global box office while reintroducing scary dinosaurs to the mainstream once again. Round 2 of the revived franchise is Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, which promises a return to its roots with a much darker tone than the first installment. Plot details on Fallen Kingdom are still slim, but we do know that stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and B.D. Wong will reprise their roles from the first installment, while Jeff Goldblum will return as the philosophical Dr. Ian Malcolm, which is his first return to the franchise since 1997's The Lost World. Malcolm's importance to the sequel is hinted at strongly in the film's tagline.
Life, finds a way.
Hints from those involved with the movie indicate that the plot may involve multiple competing labs hatching their own dinosaurs off the island, the ethical issues and how they're using them, and how they'll coexist with humans in the rest of the world. The movie will return to Isla Nublar for at least part of the film, and keep a watch out for the original Jurassic Park T-Rex, which will also be making a comeback, with a promise that the sequel will be more suspenseful and scary than previous installments in the franchise. And with horror film director J.A. Bayona at the helm, it sounds like Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom will be a must-watch when it finally arrives on June 22nd. Alita: Battle Angel. Following in the footsteps of Old Boy and Ghost in the Shell, Alita: Battle Angel will bring us the latest science fiction movie based on a manga. The movie is directed by Robert Rodriguez and will feature Rosa Salazar in the title role, with a supporting cast including Christoph Waltz, Mahershala Ali, Ed Skrein, Michelle Rodriguez, Keanu Johnson, and Jennifer Connelly, among others. Plot details have been scarce so far, but we do know that it will focus primarily on the plot of the manga's first 4 volumes, particularly on the futuristic sport of motorball. The film has been a passion project of producer James Cameron, who became a fan of Yukito Kishiro's original manga nearly 2 decades ago. He's been trying to get the film made ever since, although he's had to delay production along the way in order to finish his Avatar films, and develop the additional technology needed to do Alita correctly. With Cameron and Rodriguez leading the way, Alita: Battle Angel is sure to please science fiction fans, action fans, and manga fans alike when it reaches the silver screen on July 20th. The Predator. While The Predator is actually the 4th film in the core Predator series, chronologically it's set in the present day between the events of 1990's Predator 2 and 2010's Predators. The film will star Boyd Holbrook as an ex-Marine who discovers that predators exist and recruits a team to help hunt them down. Rounding out his team include castmates Olivia Munn, Trevante Rhodes, Keegan-Michael Key, Sterling K. Brown, Alfie Allen, and child actor Jacob Tremblay, who will play Quinn's son. The other supporting cast members include Yvonne Strahovski and Edward James Olmos, as well as Jake Busey, who will make an appearance as the son of Peter Keyes from Predator 2, who was played by his real-life father, Gary Busey. Shane Black, who played Hawkins in the original Predator, has returned to the franchise, this time as the director. Black wants to keep the spirit of the original film alive with this sequel, and has made it clear that it won't be rated PG-13. Cast member Sterling K. Brown has also dropped hints that the Predator will have many wicked, funny moments, much like the original film. If Black can truly capture the nostalgia of Predator while keeping the story fresh, Predator should be a true blockbuster when it hits theaters on August 3rd. Captive State. Based on the buzzy screenplay written by Rupert Wyatt and Erica Beanie, Captive State will star John Goodman, Vera Farmiga, Ashton Sanders, Jonathan Majors, Kevin Dunn, and Machine Gun Kelly, among others. The official description tells us the movie will be set in a Chicago neighborhood nearly a decade after an occupation by an extraterrestrial force, and explores the lives on both sides of the conflict, the collaborators and the dissidents. You can catch the film in theaters on August 17th. Darkest Minds. This upcoming science fiction superpowers movie is based on the novel of the same name by Alexandra Bracken. The Darkest Minds is being directed by Jennifer Yuh Nelson in her live-action directorial debut. The story centers on the years after disease sweeps America, killing nearly all of the children as the surviving kids develop uncontrollable superhuman abilities and are confined to internment camps around the nation. Hunger Games star Amanda Stenberg will star as Ruby. a girl who decides to break out of the camp and join a group of rebel teens in a plot to bring down the government, which wants to keep them under lock and key. Joining Stenberg are Harris Dickinson, Mandy Moore, Patrick Gibson, Skyland Brooks, and Gwendolyn Christie, who will play a brutal bounty hunter tasked with tracking down the missing teens. Since it's based upon a young adult novel, the live-action adaptation of The Darkest Minds will likely be a PG-13 film that will appeal to teens and adults alike and will premiere on September 14th. Mortal Engines. Based on the novel of the same name by Philip Reeve, Mortal Engines will take us into a futuristic steampunk world following the ravages of a 60-minute war. In this future, cities are now mobile, moving around the world propelled by gigantic engines and wheels. Along the way, the cities cannibalize smaller towns to replenish their own resources. Longtime Peter Jackson storyboard artist and collaborator Christian Rivers will make his feature film directorial debut with Mortal Engines, while Jackson will produce. The screenplay was also written by Jackson, along with his frequent writing partners Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh. Starring Robert Sheehan, Hera Hilmar, Ronan Raftery, and Hugo Weaving, Mortal Engines should be a visual extravaganza with a compelling story that will blow viewers away when it floats into theaters on December 14th. Code 8. Not only is Code 8 the first feature film from actors Robbie and Stephen Amell, it was also nearly completely crowdfunded via an Indiegogo campaign. In 2016, the Amells, who are cousins, released a 10-minute-long short film which they were seeking to expand to a feature length. In it, the Amells take a different view on the mutant superpower trope. In their future, approximately 4% of people have various supernatural powers, but they're mostly shunned by the rest of the population. Forced to live on the fringes of society, specials struggle with poverty and have to take low-paying jobs as day laborers to make ends meet. When two of these specials get into a confrontation with militarized police, things go violently wrong. Starring Robbie and Stephen Amell, Sung Kang, Aaron Abrams, and Chad Donala, principal photography on Code 8 began in June 2017 and is tentatively slated for a December 2018 release. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.